Hello, it's Henry from 911 Virgin, the Porsche people in Uxbridge again. Going to do another really quick video this time. We're not going out in this car, but it's just come in and it relates sort of to the last big video we did, which was the 964 celebration, or the Jubilee car from 1993, which celebrated Porsche's 30 years of Porsche 911 production. This car is from 2013, and the mathematicians amongst you will then think, hang on a minute, 1963, 2013, that would be 50 years. So, Porsche produced this car in 2013, launched it at the International Motor Show in Frankfurt in, I think it was September 2013, which was exactly the same show that in 1963 they launched the Porsche 911. So this is their celebration of 50 years of Porsche 911 production. So what do you get? What's it all about? Porsche were essentially trying to pay tribute to 50 years of continuous production of the 911. 50 years is like forever. It's kind of pretty much from the invention of the car, the 911 has been out there, and you know, I can't think of any other car that's been in production that long. But Porsche are really clever at making cars which are greater than the sum total of the parts that go into them. And you'll hear me say that quite a lot. When we look at some of the GT series cars, so the GT3s, GT4s and so on, again, just tweaks and changes that make a massive difference to the way a car feels, looks and so on. And I think this is a great sort of example of that. I'll say from the outset, I absolutely love this car. This is, I think it's a brilliant thing, and sort of everyone who sees it falls in love with it. It's a thoroughly modern car, but it also strikes that right balance between sort of paying tribute to something and it not being a horrible pastiche of bits. I remember my mum had a Fiesta Finesse special edition. It was a silver car, striped down the side that said Finesse on it, and that made it a special edition. This is far more than that, and the designers have put in a lot of hours, and they've really thought and put some sometimes quite subtle styling cues in there that people who are familiar with the older 911s will relate to, and so on. Obvious things, colour. It's Geezer grey, this particular car. And I think they mean geezer as in the geezer, as opposed to geezer as in the kind of wide boy. You could also get it in, I think it's called graphite grey, which was a darker grey. I've got to say, I don't really see this as a grey. I see it as a off-white cream kind of, but it's a super colour in that it evokes history and the classic 911. They took a C2S, so 400 horsepower, 991 two-wheel drive car, and put it in a four-wheel drive body, which means the body's a bit wider. And if you remember the celebration car, or the Jubilee car, the 30th anniversary, that was in effect reviving the Super Sport. And so they've sort of done the same thing here. It's a more purposeful, wider body. Also gives it the suspension. You can tweak a little bit, and a wider track on the suspension to just make some adjustments too. What else have we got? I mean, a big thing will be the wheels. The wheel is Porsche's modern take on the Fuchs wheel. The Fuchs alloy is, as alloys go, it's kind of one of the classic alloys on the planet. I'm trying to think of another one, maybe something like a mini light wheel. Again, that's something that has a real unique styling to it and so on. But the Fuchs alloy came out with the 911s, existed through until, well, the 3.2 Carrera, so that's the classic 911s. And Porsche have kind of rejigged it, 20-inch Fuchs inspired wheel, very nice. The other thing they've done is they've kind of revived chrome a little bit. Chrome doesn't necessarily have a place in the modern era of cars, but back in the 60s, 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s, very much featured in the 911. And the window surrounds particularly. I think in 78, 79 they changed from sort of chrome to the satin black, but they've brought it back out again and put some sort of chrome styling cues. So lovely window surround on here. You've got actually sport design mirrors which are put on the car. On the front of the car here you can see the washer jet pop-up in chrome. Also the inlets in the front of the air inlets there with the chrome trim, and also some chrome elements to the rear of the car as well. But again, it's a kind of subtle thing. In theory, it almost shouldn't work, but it does. And they've just got the right balance. Headlight surrounds with a chrome element to it as well. So yeah, it looks good. You know, if you suddenly said, right, I'm going to put some chrome on a car, it's almost a kind of Homer Simpson moment, and you'd think, oh no, please don't do it. But works really, really well. So yeah, externally, you know, looks lovely. And then when you move inside the car, there's loads and loads of stuff, which again, some of it quite subtle, but let's have a look inside the car. So inside the car, the first thing that you see in there are the seat inserts. I don't know if you pronounce it Pepita or Pepita. It's kind of like a dog tooth, but it's not quite. And it's a trim very much from the 1960s in Porsche's trim library, and looks really, really nice. Makes me think of the Sport Classic they produced in 2010. If you remember, that was the car with the double humps in the roof. Now a very, very desirable car. That's a £200,000 car these days. And this is, again, I guess it's probably it's the car you think of when you see this. I tend not to talk very much about values in these videos, but one of the things, I mean, this is limited to 1963 examples, so quite a limited run. The Sport Classic, there was 250 of them, so much more limited. The values of these things, I mean, these special editions, when Porsche get it right, it does enhance the value of them. I mean, the Jubilee car, the Celebration car, the 964, you know, that made essentially £90,000 for a 100,000 mile car, you know, which was obviously, you know, quite a lot of money for an older 911. This, I think, will also kind of hold its money quite well. I think there was also a special edition for the 996s, which came out in 2003, and that was for 40 years of production. That's probably the one car within the sort of range of cars which is bubbling under a little bit. And I wonder if, you know, at the moment, bargain is a difficult word because you're probably still going to pay, I don't know, mid-30,000s for it. But it possibly has been forgotten a little bit, and so maybe that's a little car for the future that may just rise and so on. But they definitely, you know, when they get it right, it's not always the case. There was a Millennium Special Edition which featured kind of, you know, walnut wood inside, and you know, maybe didn't find favour with everybody. And so, you know, value-wise, that didn't necessarily command huge premium, or doesn't command huge premiums. But these more limited cars, you know, it's an interesting thing. As I say, I'm trying not to do it as a series of videos based on value and so on. You know, it has a bearing because obviously, you know, if you want these cars, they are a certain price point to get into them. But I'm actually not massively involved in the day-to-day sales side of things. I'm almost a sales prevention officer, and so they don't really let me out to deal with people in reality. And so it's kind of quite nice in that I don't necessarily have a finger on the pulse of what's expensive or not, and so I can almost kind of enjoy the cars just, naively and just sort of think, well, it's a nice car. It's not a nice car. Not being too precious in terms of values. So back to the interior of the car. Couple of things. You've obviously got a few little styling cues that let you know you've got a limited edition car. In the kick plate in here, you've got 911 50th emblem, which is the same on the rear of the car. Also on where the cup holder pops out, you've got another little three-dimensional badge on there. Again, one of these subtle things they did is the gauges. They've got white gauges with silver pivot centers for the needles. Again, and there's sort of green lettering, and it's just evoking the kind of earlier cars. Also on the clock for the Sport Chrono, again, it's a green finish to it, and it just kind of takes you back to the 1960s that you would have seen. And as I say, they've really thought about it carefully, because it's so easy with these little tweaks and changes. You can, as I say, you can make it a pastiche, which is really not very pleasant. But Porsche have got it absolutely bang on this, and they've got, as I say, it's a really modern car, but it evokes a feeling of the classic 911. And as I say, I love it. It's a great job. So rear of the car, it continues the kind of chrome accents. So trailing edge of the engine cooling vents in there, panel there just below the spoiler, chrome Porsche badge, and then the 91150 logo, the kind of three-dimensional logo just raised slightly on there, which is nice. And then the quad exhausts, again, fairly sort of simplistic design, but works really well. As I say, it almost shouldn't do. You kind of, you wonder how they've done it with chrome, but it looks really nice. So there you go, that's the 991 50th anniversary car. As I say, it's just a quick video, came into stock, and because it related to the celebration of the Jubilee car we made with the 964, I thought, we couldn't not feature it. And I love it as a car. It's just that right balance between paying tribute to the older cars, but in a thoroughly modern way, with the sort of Porsche torque vectoring and limited slip diff and the sports exhaust and the suspension tweaks, and they've a lot of the things you can't see that have been made, which makes it feel a special car. But then visually, it's a very, I don't know, soft, sort of embracing feeling, and taking you back to the old classic 911s. So yeah, a lovely balance, and I like it. So I think they've done a good job. I'm Henry. We're 911 Virgin, the Porsche people in Uxbridge. Many thanks for watching this, and indeed for subscribing on YouTube. Got one or two followers on there, which is nice to see. Got some great ideas for videos coming up, and so now we're sort of got everybody in after the lockdown. Hopefully we'll find a bit more time to make a few more videos and get some more content out there. But thanks for watching, it's much appreciated. Goodbye.